Good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, so you know what that means. It's the Tuesday Ticket. I am your host, David Logue, and as always on our Tuesday ticketing adventures, I'm joined by Phil McGinley and Regan Stevenson. Boys, how we doing?
Doing well, David. Doing well.
Smashing, mate. Smashing as always.
You doing good, Phil? Phil, I'm
Mhm.
just going to put out there, happy birthday, mate.
Cheers. Thanks.
Oh, did you?
39 years old, young, whatever you want to say, but you're
Say
39.
young.
Time's round the sun now.
That's it. I hope you got some pie sports. Pies with a wee candle or something in there.
I don't think I can. Again, I can eat these pies at this stage, but I did get this. I did get the new Celtic away shirt today.
Lovely.
So yes, I did buy that. Did
Add
indulge.
the meat on the back.
Not yet, no, but I do think that Celtic, when the day comes, August 15th, as Regan keeps telling us, I do think Celtic should announce him in this with some sort of slogan like feels just like home, just to be extra wide, just something like that. There's marketing for you. Come on, Celtic, you'd have that one for free.
There you go. You go. Well, before we get talking about all the news, the gossip, and the hearsay surrounding Glasgow Celtic, give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair, become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All our content is absolutely free. This is just your way of supporting the bus, keeping the wheels on the road. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you know that the bus is on its way. And big shout out to piesports.com for your 12.5% off at the checkout for your tasty pastry treats. Right, that's all out of the way. Let's get blethering. So we're on another chapter of the Matt O'Reilly saga, Phil. This time there seems to be a bit more legs to this one. It's Brighton have entered the race for our midfield maestro. So it was reported yesterday by Sky Sports that Brighton are in talks with a view to strike a deal for Celtic midfielder Matt O'Reilly. Phil, this one certainly has legs. It's been reported by Sky Sports, so there's good chance it's legit. Brighton, obviously Premier League club, got a new manager in this season. I believe it's the former St. Pauli manager has come in. Youngest manager in the Premier League, wants to play an exciting brand of football. Brighton are a very well-run club. They've got great scouting, as we know, a great scouting team, which we could do with ourselves. Is it an appealing move for Matt O'Reilly to move to Brighton?
In the sense it's a Premier League team, then, well, it is appealing in that sense. There's obviously another step we've seen with players that have went down there. There's always that step that can get them further in the shop window for other Premier League teams. Virgil van Dijk springs to mind, Victor Wanyama. They went to Southampton and then got a move to an even bigger team further down the line. So there's definitely that. Matt O'Reilly definitely ticks a lot of boxes for English teams, particularly ones that compete in UEFA competitions, because he will tick the homegrown box as well as the fact he's just a very, very good player. So, yeah, the Brighton one does concern me. As you say, they're a very well-run club. I know a lot of people have problems accepting that Brighton, who are Brighton, but football's changed nowadays. Back in my day, this grey silver beard that I've got these days, when I was a youngster watching the Premier League, teams like Coventry and stuff like that in the Premier League, those days are long gone. They've been replaced now by the Bournemouths and the Brentfords and Brightons and whatnot. The Premier League's a changed landscape now. And probably in 20 years' time, maybe teams like Brighton and stuff won't be in it and it'll be replaced by other teams from the lower divisions. It's just the way it goes, football cycle. So right now, Brighton are a very well-run, quite a solid mid-table. They were in Europe recently as well. I think just as much last season. They were in the Europa League, I want to say.
Yes,
so they are a team that have got, they're in a nice position now in the Premier League. They've sort of bedded themselves in there. And as they've shown as well with some of their players in recent years, where they've moved to, like Caicedo, moving to Chelsea and whatnot, they are a good stepping stone to even bigger teams. So it does concern me that they are there, regardless of, their history may not be great, but here and now, Brighton are quite a decent side in the Premier League, so we need to be concerned about that one.
They are a decent side, Regan, but I kind of feel like Phil nailed it on the head there. Said they're a very good stepping stone. I don't know if Matt O'Reilly needs that stepping stone. There's talks that Chelsea are also considering a move for Matt O'Reilly. Place Conor Gallagher, who's on his way to Atletico Madrid. So I'm assuming that'll be the Atletico Madrid links out the way now. So I mean, yes, Phil's right. Brighton is an appealing move if you're wanting it to be a stepping stone to get to the more of a higher level in the Premier League. So I think they play very good football. Well, they certainly did play very good football. I still think it's mad that their manager left. Couldn't even tell you where he went. I think it was Italy.
Marseille. He's waiting Marseille.
That's even weirder.
A controversial club this summer because they signed Mason Greenwood and their fans have not taken it very well. The De Zerbi standing by the decision. So there you go.
Oh, well, I mean, that's still a weird move that he went there. But anyway, the appealing football, and from what I gather, how St. Pauli played last season, the manager that's come in obviously wants to play an exciting brand of football as well, which Matt O'Reilly will obviously excel in. But if Chelsea are being linked, as well as Atletico Madrid had put in a bid in January, Regan, does he need this stepping stone? I mean, at the end of the day, it all depends on what clubs are actually going to come in from. But if Chelsea were to put in a solid offer, as well as Brighton, does he pick Brighton over Chelsea?
No. He picks Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea's got a reputation. As much as they're a mess under Todd Bowley, and I'm quite enjoying the downfall of it, but I think Chelsea would be a very good move, especially that they're always a club that's always at the top of the football. Obviously, Brighton have been good the last couple of years, but that could change as well. But I'm with Phil on this. I think that Brighton, they're a good club, and the only thing I can see is you probably look at people like Basuma, Caicedo, you probably look at people like that. But yeah, I do think that bigger clubs may come in from. I'm thinking he maybe go to a Juventus or something like that because they're still looking for a midfielder at the moment, and I think that that could be a possibility. But I did see that Brighton have said the reason why they've entered talks with Celtic is because they're looking to match the Scottish record for a player. So they've obviously told Celtic, look, we're not going to mess about here. They're able to match the Scottish record for Matt O'Reilly.
Interesting. I mean, I hadn't seen that. I don't think Matt O'Reilly would pick a Chelsea over Brighton at the minute. Just to counter what you'd said there, Regan. While I'm remembering, I just feel that history's shown that Matt O'Reilly will make certain decisions to suit footballing reasons, as well as obviously level of club he's at and money he could be on. Because the boy obviously wants to play football, and I don't think, even how good a player Matt O'Reilly is, I don't see him getting in that Chelsea midfield anytime soon. Chelsea have spent record signing fees on Caicedo from, funny enough, Brighton. And Enzo Fernandez, as you know. I can't see Matt O'Reilly walking into that Chelsea side. I think he'd find himself sitting on a bench there, and I don't think that's the smartest move for him. So if I'm being honest, I don't think Chelsea would come in for an offer anyway. But if that was the case, I think Brighton would probably be more of an appealing footballing decision for Matt O'Reilly. Of course, he could, an 8-year contract on stupid amounts of money is appealing to anybody. But I think Matt O'Reilly knows that he's, decisions that he's made in the past for footballing reasons has obviously worked in his favour. I think obviously he would probably do that again.
Chelsea's squad is also so bloated right now. I literally saw a tweet earlier on of somebody just posting with no context with a Wikipedia screenshot of their current first team and the amount of players that are on it that aren't even registered with squad numbers, like Lukaku and stuff like that, are still there with Chelsea. And I've seen it's like over 40 players registered to the first team right now, or in the first team. So they're overloaded with players right now. They definitely need to get rid, I think, before they start bringing in more. But the way they've been operating the last couple of years wouldn't even surprise me if they just kept on signing players. They are a bit of a basket case club.
Of course, there's another link with Brighton that we shall discussing. It's obviously perhaps a bargaining chip that Brighton want to put into the deal potentially, and that is to send the Argentinian 19-year-old midfielder. I'm going to pronounce this right. Here we go. Facundo Bonato. It's a weird name.
We'll just call him Facundo for the time being.
We'll call him Dave. So
we're on first name terms with him.
Facundo, good guy. Good manner. So we're being linked with that guy on a loan basis. Feyenoord were interested in the Argentinian midfielder, but due to increased competition, the Dutch outfit have turned their attention elsewhere in search of alternatives. Southampton are apparently also interested in signing this boy. Now, I was quite surprised at this because I was thinking, oh, here we go, a 19-year-old boy that's never kicked a ball for Brighton, and they're going to send him out on loan up here, and we're meant to be delighted with that. But the 19-year-old actually made 50 appearances in all competitions for Brighton last season, registering 5 goals and 2 assists. Say that again, Regan?
I remember him playing a few games. He's quite good in the ball.
Well, I mean, 50 appearances for a Premier League side is nothing to sniff at, but I think people just hear loan and 19-year-old and you're thinking, oh, here we go again, another prospect that we've got no plans on keeping hold of, and it's just a way to kind of soften the blow of losing Matt O'Reilly. But he's capable of playing on the right flank or as an attacking midfielder. He created 18 chances in the Premier League last term, despite his limited involvement. I'm going to assume a lot of these appearances came from the bench then. Phil, what's your thoughts on old Facundo coming up here as part of as a make way for Matt O'Reilly? Does it soften the blow for you if we do lose Matt O'Reilly to Brighton? Are you hoping that this loan deal could potentially be an option to buy? I've heard the player's not interested in coming. So, I think he wants to stay in England, so we could just be wasting our time talking about this guy at the minute. But this is what I've got in front of me at the minute. So, any thoughts here on old Facundo?
A bit conflicted on it because we talked about the one last week with Southampton, and it was a similar sort of deal where there was a player coming up on loan as part of it. And to me, bringing them in on loan, even with an option to buy, if they don't turn out that well and we decide not to exercise that option to buy, then what have we really gained at the end of the year? The player just goes back down the road and we probably end up with less money than what we should have got for O'Reilly. So for me, it's like, if we're going to replace O'Reilly, I would rather it be some sort of permanent signing. But as I was conflicted, I do understand the logic in it from the boards and the club's point of view, because we've done it a few times over the last few years. We bring in a player for a year, and obviously it's a try before you buy. We don't commit to it. But that's also a bit of a damning indictment on our scouts, that they can't identify a player that they're confident enough to splash the cash on. Instead, it needs to be a wee loan to buy, or a loan option with an option there in case it doesn't quite work out. So again, it comes back to the core problem about our scouting network and what is really going on right now. Yeah. Are they really doing their due diligence? To me, if you're saying that the boy isn't interested in coming up here, or if there won't be even an option to buy him at the end of it, I don't think it's worth pursuing. Brighton might still make some sort of cash offer or whatever if he isn't involved, or maybe another player will be involved or whatever. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know if that one tickles me at all.
No, I mean, I don't know much about the guy, Regan. I mean, I'm seeing here 50 appearances. I don't know in terms of minutes that was, and like about how many starts, etc. Doesn't really excite me. I don't particularly care. When I got a message saying that we're apparently interested in him and still Bueno being in, I was just like, oh, I'm being honest, I'd rather just keep Matt O'Reilly. However, I mean, I've also considered the fact that it's looking more and more likely that he's going to leave. So we're going to have to get someone in that position. This was just bring up here, James McAtee. Is he the boy at Man City, Regan?
Yes, he was at Sheffield United last year.
I see he played against us in the out in America as well. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a bit of a buzz about him last season. How did he get on at Sheffield?
He played well in the season that Sheffield United came up, and then last season Sheffield United were absolutely dog meat in one of the worst teams in Premier League history. So I don't think he did too well. So he's back at Sheffield United last season as well on loan, wasn't he, Regan? Yeah, but that team just seemed cursed. They were terrible.
The big Dom's nails it on here. We don't have to sell any player, but I mean, I don't think we're in a situation here where Matt O'Reilly's going to kick up a stink to get a move. But I think if the move appeals to him, I think he'll probably certainly say we would like to go, and I think Celtic probably won't stand in his way, Regan. And we don't want an unhappy player at the club. We've seen in the past what happens when we've got a player that's not happy. You just have to look at even what's happening down in Norwich right now with Adam Ida obviously wanting to come on the other way. If Matt O'Reilly goes to Brighton or wherever he ends up, he'll go with my blessing. But I just hope the club are doing their due diligence and actually getting somebody in to replace him, because I think we've all made it pretty clear that Bernardo, he's saying that Bernardo and Home are the replacement. I was going to say I hope Bernardo. I don't think Bernardo is the replacement for Matt O'Reilly because he was here last season. So I don't want that to be the natural replacement. We've said umpteen times on this show, it's a start, but it's not it can't be the end of it, Regan. It just can't.
No, definitely no. I think we'll get another midfielder in, no matter like if O'Reilly goes, because I think that you need to replace his quality as well. I think that midfield on Sunday, I know we'll get into the match, but I thought the midfield three on Sunday just dictated the whole tempo of the match. They were absolutely brilliant. Like, I know Derek McInnes said that basically that the scoreline flares Celtic, but I don't know what game he was watching. Oh, Rangers are 1-0 down. Rangers are 1-0 down at the moment.
News just in.
It's offside. It's offside.
You calm down, mate, and you just focus on the Celtic. Don't worry about them, then.
But yeah, I think it's important that you replace Matt O'Reilly's quality, because those three in midfield on Sunday really dictated the match. I feel like people are really appreciating Matt O'Reilly now, and I think as well he's really appreciating where he is. Brendan Rodgers has spoke about that he's not a bad egg. He knows where he is, and David, I'm with you. See if Matt O'Reilly stays, I think he'll be pretty happy as well.
I think he should. I watched the game obviously on the telly on Sunday there, Phil, and I didn't see a player that looked like he had even one eye out the door. He just looked so invested in the club that he's playing for, the manager that he's playing for. He doesn't look like a player that's just kind of moping around, waiting on the move to happen, worried that he might get a tackle that will get him injured and stop any move from happening. He just looked like he's knee deep, ball deep in the Celtic season right now, and it was good to see. When they did that silly wee dance that you've put on as our header today. Woke nonsense, Phil.
Yes. Sean Dyche, definitely.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It showed there's a togetherness there, and Matt O'Reilly's a part of that still until he just leaves the club. And despite all the rumours going about and all the news, he doesn't look like a player that's linked away at all.
I mean, there's obviously been comments, Big Dom saying the comments about maybe it's Big Dom Mackay, who knows, in the comments incognito. But why do we need to sell our best players? I asked on Friday night to the live chat, I put a poll up on the Friday feeling saying, do you think Matt O'Reilly will still be a Celtic player come the end of the window? If you'd asked me that at the start of the summer, I would have been like, he's definitely away. But there is still a wee bit of me there that's now starting to think, I wouldn't be surprised if he is still here come the end of it. The boy definitely doesn't seem like he wants to go. Like he's not, he's not chomping at the bit. You look at his social media posts and whatnot, he's putting things up like, oh, it's good to be back, posting pictures, celebrating with his teammates and whatnot. So he's definitely giving off a message, and he's always definitely buying into what Brendan Rodgers is selling, because right from day one, when Brendan Rodgers came in, there was obviously those passive-aggressive digs that he made at the previous manager, Ange Postecoglou. He was definitely taking a few pot shots at him. And it feels like that Brendan Rodgers, we actually said at the time when Brendan came in, who's a player we think will flourish under him? I think many of us said Matt O'Reilly. and it's definitely came to fruition. So I think the club are going to decide if an offer comes in that is too good for them to turn down, then so be it. It will happen. And Matt Riley will go. The club will basically just say you're going, whether you like it or not, essentially. But at the same time, if his value isn't met and the club keep on knocking stuff back, I can't see him chapping on the manager's door and saying, "I want out of here." I think he'll bide his time, and I don't think he seems like a consummate professional to me. So there is still part of me that does feel like what Brendan Rodgers has said, but he's made it clear to any suitors: bid on the value of the player, not on the league, which a lot of teams seem to be doing. Because they look at it and think, like, plays in Scotland, can't be worth that much money. So they're making it very clear that they want the value of the player. And that's making me think that the club are going to stand strong here to a lot of offers. And it's going to have to be something ridiculous, something bigger than the Jota or the Kieran Tierney transfer fee for them to eventually go, or we'll sell him now. So don't be surprised if he is still here.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either. And I think it's a real sign of it shows a real sign of intent by Brendan Rodgers and Celtic. If they don't bow down to a £20 million offer, I think if they want to at least match the record for a Scottish player to move, then so be it. But I mean, it does seem like they're pretty headstrong here, Regan. That you will have to offer what we value our player at, and that's one thing I will give the board credit for, is they will hold out for what they want. That's about as much credit as I'm going to give them. Regan, now you passed a story onto our Tuesday ticket group chat earlier today, and I managed to find it online as well, that Celtic are monitoring the situation of Dundee midfielder Luke McCowan, according to Sky Sports reporter Anthony Joseph, your pal Regan. The Hoops are keeping tabs on the 26-year-old this summer amid interest from Hibernian and Bolton Wanderers, who have both had bids rejected so far in this window. Journalist Joseph has posted this update on his X feed. Dundee have rejected bids from Hibernian and Bolton Wanderers for Luke McCowan. Cheers for that. So yeah, I mean, so he's the captain. Am I right in saying, Regan? He's the Dundee captain at the minute. How would you feel about that one? Okay, let's just say, for sake of argument, Matt O'Reilly leaves, and we bring in Luke McCowan.
I think
we've managed to fight off the giants of Bolton Wanderers and our title rivals in Hibernian for the signature of Luke McCowan. How would you feel about that?
I think he's a great player with great potential, David. But I think if you get 25+ million from Matt O'Reilly, I think people would be at the front of Celtic Park with sharks complaining. I just don't see it happen. I don't see him being the replacement for Matt O'Reilly. But what I would like Celtic to do is forward plan, like me and Phil said about the guy from Motherwell. Maybe say to them, well, we'll pay $2 million for the guy, but we'll loan him back for a year, and then you can take him on board, because I think these are the guys that Celtic should be getting. I mean, I grew up with Celtic with Scott Brown, but Barry Robson, Paul Hartley, loads of Scottish players, and I think now everybody just seems to be scared to dip into the Scottish market. I mean, I spoke to Phil before we come on here, and I said that Miovski again, he played brilliant last night. Everybody seems scared to take a chance on this guy as well. Like, these are players that we need to be taking advantage of as well.
I mean, I was having a wee bit of jest there when I'm saying the likes of, how would you feel about it? Because, I mean, you're right. I mean, unfortunately, and I'll include myself in this, when you hear us signing a player from Dundee, you can't help but feel a bit like underwhelmed, because you're like, really? I mean, we're losing a player to a Premier League club and selling him for 25 million plus, for sake of argument, right? And then we're maybe potentially replacing him with a player that plays with Dundee. I mean, you can't help but feel underwhelmed. But you're right. Regan's right, Phil. I mean, these guys, shouldn't underestimate these boys. If they've played well in this league, playing for a lower club such as Dundee, a lower table side like Dundee, then there's no real reason as to why they can't excel at Celtic. We've all been crying out for a Miovski to sign for Celtic, therefore maybe we shouldn't be raising an eyebrow at us looking to sign a midfielder that's done very, very well in this league in the last couple of seasons, and a captain of one of our league rivals.
The thing with McCown is, and obviously last season, I think you and I were doing a show and we were talking about him, and you and I were both under the impression he was actually still quite young because Dundee had been out of the league, they came back up, and this boy suddenly busts on the scene. So like, oh, he must still be quite young. And when found out he was 26, it was like, whoa, didn't expect that at all. Now, what's interesting there is the teams that are chasing him. So to me, that's a big red flag. Now, look at who was the Aberdeen player a few years ago? Was it Ramsey? Calvin Ramsey ended up getting picked up by Liverpool.
Yeah,
it was Liverpool. So when you're seeing players like that playing in Scotland, and there's teams at that level down in England looking at them, then you're like, maybe we did miss out on one like that. But when Hibernian are chasing McCown and Bolton Wanderers, who I think are still in League One, to me that's a red flag. That's like, no, that's not the level we should be looking at all for me. And they'd say he's 26. He isn't the Lennon Miller's type age. Lennon Miller definitely looks like he's got that room to grow because he is still a teenager. And I do agree with the move. If we were to go in for Miller, he's not going to come into the Celtic team right now, but you buy him and you loan him back to Motherwell for a year so that he can continue his development, because there's no point in bringing him in to sit in the stands or play for the B team against the fifth tier of Scottish football. It's like, no, that's what you would do with him. But McCown, for me, is a no. I think the teams that are chasing him is kind of the level that we should be competing with them. If there's teams down in England at a higher level, like Championship or even low-end Premier League teams are showing interest in McCown, then that would be like, oh, wait a minute. This could be one that we could let slip through the net here. We might as well, get on that, because we look at, Regan brought up there Majowski's name. Some of the names that are coming up looking at Majowski now. And it's like, well, we keep on urging the club to move for him. I don't know if Celtic will, given what Aberdeen are asking for, even though Celtic have got the money to do it. Celtic, on one hand, are saying pay for the player, not for the league, but then look at Majowski and go, no, we're not paying $7 million for him. Not paying that. But you're
the Scottish League.
Aye, you hear the teams like Bologna, there's teams like Southampton and stuff are now circling around Majowski, Premier League teams, Italian Serie A teams. So that does make you think that, a quite high level of looking at him. But with McCown, Hibernian, and Bolton Wanderers, no, that doesn't. For me, I wouldn't be looking at McCown at all.
No, so Tony Daly, he's said nothing wrong with signing these players, but they aren't making a significant dent in Europe with those moves, and I think he's nailed it on the head there. I mean, that's fine if you're wanting to just pluck some of the best talent out of Scotland to help, fill out the squad for domestic level. Great. McCowan ain't starting in any lineup against elite European sides, not even elite. I'm talking like.
I remember when we bought Joseph Maloney from Kilmarnock. That was one of the worst things ever.
Could have got John McGinn and we ended up with Malumbu instead. Yeah.
God. I remember Celtic part when we played Salzburg and he came on in the Europa League. Remember that, Paul?
I do remember that one, yes.
Malumbu's a Celtic legend, mate. I won't have anything said about it. Stephen Kennedy's asked, David, you ever thought of taking up commentating? No, I haven't. I don't know. Maybe one day.
You've got a good voice for it. You do actually. Be fair, that's been pointed out. I can imagine it.
Could you imagine just me sitting next to Alan McCoy going, "You pick a new catchphrase, mate." Right? Make no mistake about it. Fucking enough of your mistakes about it, mate. Come on. Anyway, let's move on. So, speaking of Miovski, I read a story that Southampton have now apparently made an approach to sign Miovski from Aberdeen. Not surprised at that. I'm not surprised Southampton are coming back to try and poach some of Scotland's better players. Obviously, they've had success in the past with, like you said, Wanyama Foster
Van
and Van Dijk, and of course the manager they have at the minute happened to have just played in the Scottish League only a few years ago, so he knows. He's well aware of obviously the talents that are up in Scotland. So I'm not surprised that Southampton are interested in signing Miovski. That is an example of, like you said, Phil, I was trying to compete for signatures with lower Premier League clubs, Championship clubs, and Miovski. I think we've been saying for over a year now that Miovski should be a player of interest. I think Miovski does make a dent in Europe for Celtic. I think he's proven already that he can score in European competition with Aberdeen. He's scored in competitions for his national side. He's is he 26 years old?
26.
He's yeah, I think it'd be a very good signing. But like you said, Phil, it's not looking likely. There's never been any real strong links to Miovski other than fan media, people on Twitter just saying that they would like to sign him. That is about as close as it's getting at the minute. I'm holding out that maybe out of nowhere, suddenly we wake up one morning and Sky Sports are announcing that Celtic have approached an official bid for Miovski, but I'll not hold my breath. There was a lot of chat I seen on Twitter actually, Phil, that people were saying that how can we possibly sign Miovski and Adam Ida in this window? We can't. I think it was actually on Boyce's. Boyce had put up a post about signing them, and there was a bit of a debate going on whether three top strikers at the club would cause disharmony rather than breeding healthy competition. I think we can go back to loads of examples, Phil, as to when we had three top strikers at the club and it did nothing but great things for the club. I mean, Miovski, let's just take the argument, we do put in an official bid for him, as well as bringing in Adam Ida, who we're still not 100% convinced is coming, but let's just say he is also. Would it really be a bad thing having the likes of Kyogo, who has changed agent, by the way, and Miovski and Adam Ida all fighting out for that starting jersey?
That'd be a fantastic thing. With competition, you need that in the team, keeps players sharp. I mean, people saying about causing disharmony. Well, sorry, we're not a charity. Essentially, it's like these players, they've got to fight for the jersey. Just a few years ago, when Brendan Rodgers was in charge first time around, Moussa Dembele, Odsonne Edouard, Lee Griffiths playing only one up front. Seem to rotate them, no problem. We're now in a day and age, I've said this so many times now, but I'm going to say it again. We've allowed 9 substitutes on the bench. We're allowed to bring 5 on during a game. That's been the case since COVID. It's like, now we can have a position where we can have 2 forwards on the bench and, it gives us options to change it up. And for me, it's, I've heard Tony Haggerty on the Celtic Way say this a lot about the Tour de France analogy, the yellow jersey. It's yours to lose. You are the leader. Whoever it is in for him gets the nod, and it's like it keeps them sharp. We talked about. I know Joe Hart had a phenomenal end to his time at Celtic, but there was a point where we were beginning to wonder that with no real competition for his jersey, he was making a few mistakes here and there. Was complacency setting in? Complacency sets in. That is always a danger in football when there's no competition. So I think it's great if we were to have Adam Ida, Kyogo, and Miovski. They say we've got plenty, and injuries happen and suspensions happen. It's not like all of them are going to be fit for every single match day. There is going to be opportunities, and Brendan Rodgers showed last season, the second half, when he had Ida available, that depending on who the opponent was, he would change it up. Kyogo might not be suited. The best example being the Kilmarnock game, we won the league that night, where the Adam Ida started, and he was unbelievable, because Kilmarnock had caused us all sorts of problems all season, but they had no idea how to deal with Adam Ida that night. Because he was just a big battering ram up front. That's what will happen. So if we could get all 3 of them in, I think that's a fantastic move. I would not be worried about the squad disharmony or anything. So if we get 9 substitutes on the bench, there's going to be a good chance that they're going to get some sort of game time week in, week out. So, and then it's just a case of put the ball in the back of the net, keep your place in the team, keep yourself sharp. So for me, it's a good thing. Competition is only a good thing in a football team.
We also need to remember that Kyogo's 30 this year. He's changed agents. He's probably got one more. He's maybe got one more move in him. He might be thinking about a move after maybe, let's just say January. Celtic. So then, if we get into top strikers to compete with Kyogo. Then if Kyogo leaves, then it softens the blow, say January or in the summer when Kyogo, who will inevitably leave, but we already have a Miovski and an Adamida there, top strikers to compete for the jersey still. I mean, you've got a plan for the future. I don't want to be, and this is what we're doing right now. I don't want to be at a situation where, well, we won't sign anybody until we know somebody's leaving. We need to always be planning that somebody, will leave. We have a signing policy, right? Our signing policy is that we try to find the best talent that we can for a small fortune and then sell large, right? Well, if that's what you're planning on doing, then you know fine well that guy's going to leave. I'm buying that guy with the intentions of knowing that I'm going to make a profit on him, right? So you know that he's going to leave at some point. So we should always be having the next guy coming in ready to take the jersey when that guy inevitably leaves, which is what if you're one of the board members, is hoping is going to happen. Regan, am I talking nonsense? I think it makes sense. Like I don't.
I think this will probably be Kyogo's last season because, like you said, he's 30 years of age. He'll probably want to go back to Japan, or he'll want to try somewhere else in Europe before he goes back. So I think that this will be Kyogo's last season at Celtic. So I think we need to forward plan, and I think that Miovski and Adamida would be very good players for Celtic. I don't know if you're going to mention it, David, but I want to talk about Brendan Rodgers. He spoke on Sunday about the fact that that he wasn't talking about the board, but I think he was, because he's letting the fans know, right? I'm trying my best. I've told the board what I need. So he's telling you, I've told the board what I need. So it's now it's now over to them. So I think that Brendan Rodgers has finally showed that this transfer window what he should have done last summer. He's showing the fans, I think I've done my bit. So now it's up to Michael Nicholson and everybody else to chip in and do their bit.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, I think Rodgers has obviously had to separate himself from this whole narrative that it's the club as a whole that are maybe not being as ambitious as the fans. Rodgers obviously is an ambitious manager. I don't think there's any argument there. I mean, he made it clear last season about it was quality that he needed. He wanted 4 players in, and I don't think he obviously got that. Clearly wasn't happy. And I think that rubbed off on a lot of on obviously the fans. It rubbed off on the players on the pitch, that they knew that some of those guys playing knew that the manager doesn't really want me here. And I think we managed to navigate that very well. And I think, that shows the type of manager that we've got here that can actually navigate such a. I don't think there's a lot of managers that can navigate a situation like that as well as Brendan Rodgers has. He's earned the credit in the bank previously, and then obviously lost a wee bit of it with the fans, but I think he's managed to gain majority of that back. He's got plenty of credit in the bank there that he should be able to say to the board, you give me what I want, and I'll do great things. You've seen what I can do with the shite that you've given me.
Yep.
Then give me some fucking lemons, and I'll make some fucking lemonade. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, just let him do it. I mean, so I think Regan, he has separated himself from that, saying, look, I'm well aware of what you guys are wanting, because I'm wanting it too, and I'm doing my absolute best here to get what you want. But he's fighting against the tide here, Phil. I want to bring up a news story that broke, maybe I think it was a couple of hours ago now, again by Regan's good pal Anthony Joseph, saying that Celtic have told KV Michelin that Stephen Welsh is not available for a transfer at this stage of the window. I want to just make that little bit there. I want to highlight that bit there. At this stage of the window, the Belgian Pro League club made a loan offer for the centre back, not a permanent offer, a loan offer Celtic are still assessing their centre-back situation and don't want to lose Welsh at this stage. Phil, what do we make of that? I mean, I think there's a fair few fans that wouldn't be too bothered if Stephen Welsh was to leave this window, whether it was permanent or loan. A club has come in to get him on loan, and the club, Celtic, are reluctant to let him leave because they don't know their own centre-back situation, despite having Lagerbielke and Narovski still at the club. Now, that tells me they don't know whether they two are going to be leaving or they're going to be staying. I mean, they don't know whether they're coming or going, and they're not allowing, once again, they're not allowing a player who has a club willing to take him and play him, and they're not allowing him to leave at this stage of the window. It's a fucking clusterfuck, that is.
That's the best way to put it, man. That is probably the wisest way it can be said. An absolute clusterfuck. Yeah, because Brendan Rodgers and the last season at one point made it very clear about Nawrocki and Lagerbielke, his feelings towards them in that press conference where he basically just said that they weren't good enough. Are they suddenly good enough now? Are they going to be sticking around? You know, Lagerbielke was halfway out the door in January, and then the club were like, "Oh, where you going? Back here. We need you just in case Carter Vickers gets injured." And then Lagerbielke made about 2 sub-appearances for the rest of the year. So I'm surprised we haven't let him go yet. That boy needs to move on for the good of his career. But Welsh, yeah, I mean, the fact that you've highlighted though the words "at this stage" is interesting. You'd like to think that that's a sign that maybe they're working on something, but as you rightfully point out, there are still some centre-backs in the building that we spent the best part of £8 million on last year. It was £7.5 million at least when you add up the two of them. They're still there. Do the club look at that and go, I don't know, we've still got them there? Brendan Rodgers, apparently he's an expert at bringing on players and making them better, so maybe the club still look at it and go, we paid a lot of money for them last year. You know, we'll work with them. It's a bizarre situation. Stephen Welsh should be gone. For his own good of his own career, he's being held here. And yeah, the thing is, Welsh, he has fleeting moments over the last couple of years, but another one that's very injury prone. And yeah, just when it feels like, you know, I remember a few games last season when he played pretty well. I remember there was a game against Rangers at the turn of the year of all the fixtures to be playing in against Rangers, our biggest fixture. And he was playing pretty well, but had to go off injured. That was the one when Bernardo scored and Kyogo scored. It was that one. Welsh started that game and was doing all right, but I had to go off injured, which was, I think, against Feyenoord in that Champions League game. Him and Scale started together. And again, he went off injured in that game too, but he was playing okay up to that point. So yeah, he seems like he's just, to me, too injury prone. Probably his best that he does get moved on. It is quite bizarre that the club are just like, oh, club wants to take you. No, not quite yet. I'll put some faith in the fact that, as you've highlighted there, at this stage means that they're working on something. But with the number of bodies that are still in the club that play that position, I mean, bloody Kobayashi is still with the club right now. There's a worrying thought for you.
Terrible.
He's still here. So, yeah, it's just a total mess for that position.
He's still here because we put him on a 5-year contract, and who's taking that boy on the wages that he's probably on and the length of contract? But we're obviously trying to recuperate some of the money that we've spent on him. Regan, Phil's highlighted the injury issues that Stephen Welsh has had.
Yep.
As has Nawrocki. I mean, that's my biggest worry. I mean, Stephen Welsh could become the greatest centre back that's ever lived for Celtic, and we'll never know about it because the boy can't play any more than 25 minutes a game before it ends up pulling a hamstring or whatnot, you know, or a shoulder pops out of place, and then we don't see him for weeks on end. So, I mean, I want to see these guys just move on. I think they've had their chance. We're always going about the likes Mickey Johnson. How many chances is that boy going to get? I mean, how many chances is Steve Welsh going to get? And it's not, and I'm not trying to discredit the boy's ability. He's a decent enough centre half domestically, but I don't need a centre half that can't play because he's injured all the time. We just don't need it. I'd just rather we cut our losses and we move on, and either give another one of the younger boys a chance to be that prospect, or you go out and you find somebody. I mean, there's McKenna's still available on a free. You're not telling me that Steve Welsh is better than McKenna?
I think Scott McKenna will come in. I think he'll be a solid player.
Well, I mean, listen, he's not the answer. I'm not saying that that's the guy. He's the guy, but he's certainly, played at a high level for the last few years. This isn't a guy that's been without a club for months on end. He was on loan at Copenhagen, playing Champions League football, playing at a decent level, obviously in Denmark. And obviously was at Nottingham Forest, got promoted with Nottingham Forest, and then played in the Premier League. But there's a lot of people obviously aren't interested in Scott McKenna. I can understand that. See, there's Thomas Burns, no to McKenna, for fuck's sake. I'd like to hear your argument, Thomas, as to why it's a no, for fuck's sake. Just that's not me being. I'm not being a knob. I just want to give me the argument so I can now bring it up and discuss it, because we can't just have me on here saying, because I know Regan likes McKenna, I like McKenna, I think Phil likes McKenna, but there's people that aren't on camera right now that don't like the idea of McKenna. So if Thomas, if you would like to elaborate, and I'll bring up the comments so we can discuss the other side of the coin, because this is what it's about, debate. It can't all just be, well, I like McKenna, so that's all I'm going to talk about. I'd be quite happy to bring up your argument for it, because I mean, Scott McKenna came on for Scotland, and to be honest, I felt within about 10 minutes we looked far more solid at the back with him on. We obviously weren't solid enough, but he certainly should have been starting ahead of that fucking numpty.
Which one take your pick in that team? I'm Porteous. You suicide that moment.
Here we go. So I'm just going to bring up some of these quickly. So we've got McKenna rejected by Forest on high wages. McLaughlin says that he thinks McKenna's a donkey and all. I mean, I can't say I've watched a lot of McKenna since he left. I didn't even really watch a lot of him when he was at Aberdeen, but I certainly didn't watch much of him down in the Championship and in the Premier League. But I mean, he certainly was a mainstay in that Nottingham Forest side for quite some time, and then Copenhagen felt inclined to bring him in on loan to help them out with their Champions League games. I mean, I don't think we've got a donkey. Is he Does he make that Celtic back line better? That's what I'll ask Regan. Does he make it better than what it is? And then people could say, well, a lot of people could make it better. I mean, I could probably make it better. But I certainly think McKenna is a far better option than any of the left-sided centre-backs that we've got at the minute.
Yeah, David, I think you're spot on, and I'm just reading one of the comments now. Somebody's saying that he doesn't fit Brendan Rodgers' system, but Brendan Rodgers tried to buy him for £7 million the last time he was here, and Scott McKenna chose to go to Nottingham Forest. So I think Brendan Rodgers obviously sees Scott McKenna as a very good centre back, or else he wouldn't have tried to buy him the last time. But I just feel like sometimes because he's Scottish, he's on a doorstep, people just kind of turn their nose up at it and go, "Oh, it's a bad move." But I think if you look at Kobayashi, you look at Lagerbielke. I mean, we bring these guys in for like £3 million, and we go, "Oh, it's great, the club are bringing in centre backs." But then you look at it, I think I'd rather have Scott McKenna over Lagerbielke or Kobayashi any day of the week. So
yeah, I mean, that's fair. And obviously, so McLaughlin is saying, so you would take Scales out of the team for McKenna. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he would certainly give Scales a better run for his money than what is there at the minute. In Lagerbielke and Naroki and Kobayashi, Phil. Like I said, he's not. He isn't by. He's. We're not talking about. We're not signing Puyol here. You know. Just pulling a centre back at my arse there. But I mean, he's not. Yeah, the argument is here that Thomas Burns. He's replied, so I'm going to bring it up, Phil. So Thomas says it's not good enough, in my opinion. Maybe only just better than Scales. Surely, in the position we are in, we can do better. He is free, so that would appeal to our board. Aye, I mean, in the position we're in, we certainly can afford a good centre half. However, we just felt like we've just spent £7 odd million on two players that we thought were going to be better than Liam Scales, and sometimes it shows that price tags don't really make the player, Phil. But he's right. I mean, a free transfer would appeal to the board. I'm trying not to give a shit about what we're spending on players. I'm just more bothered about the profile of player that comes in. And I think a championship promoted player, Premier League experience, league experience, he's big, he's strong, he's quick, is more appealing than Lager Bielka, because despite Rodgers' track record of making players better, Phil, those 3 stripes on his shoulders and they go faster stripes, and it didn't make him any faster, and it doesn't obviously suit Brendan Rodgers that he's not very quick as well as very good, in his opinion.
Yeah, he definitely threw him under the bus last year in that one. But in regards to McKenna, the very fact that he is a free agent and still isn't here suggests to me that we probably won't go after him, because that would have been a no debate at all from the club if that was the case. I think we would have went and made a move earlier, but I don't see it now, because if he was to come in like in the last week of the transfer window, he's not going to play until God knows when, because he's been sitting without a club. He played at the Euros, got a bit of game time there, but how long ago was that now? Scotland were the first team eliminated in the Euros, keep in mind as well. So, to me, it's like if we were going to get Scott McKenna, I think we would have went and made some kind of move anyway. But yeah, I'd say, you were obviously talking about you being in favour of him. I know Regan would. I would be in favour of him being part of the squad. But
part of the squad, Phil. Part of the squad. Not just saying make him the starting centre half. If and it's a big if we were to bring him in, because I mean there's a few comments saying we're not going to sign him, which you're probably right, guys. You probably won't sign him. Yeah. But Phil, you nailed it there. Part of the squad.
But what I would then say is similar to what we were talking about with the strikers earlier. Earn that spot. And also let's talk about would you take Scales out of the team? Well, it's up to Scales to then stay in the team. And it's up to McKenna to try and get that spot. Competition. Because right now, Stephen Welsh, too injured to get a regular start. And Nawrocki and Lager Bielka don't seem to be in the reckoning. So Scales and Carter Vickers are pretty much nailed on to start, unless there's an injury or a suspension. So it's like if there's somebody there that can maybe push them a wee bit, keeps them sharp, keeps them on their toes, and it breeds competition, which is always a good thing for the squad. But I think we should also just take a moment, because a few people brought us up in the comments, because we haven't touched on the game yet. Liam Scales' name is coming up a bit about the performance he put in, and I agree. I thought Liam Scales was fantastic. I said on Friday night, I was a bit like, oh, here we go, a new season with Scales at centre-back. I did feel like, last season, because there was probably no expectation with Liam Scales, obviously he exceeded all of our expectations the way he had to start the season. He was thrown in there. He didn't ask to be put in that position. He just happened to find himself there due to injuries, suspensions and whatnot. He happened to be the start. And he kept on going in the team. I did feel that, okay, maybe he did reach a point last season where you began to see some cracks, but he kept his place and he was a vital part of the team. And I thought he played well on Sunday. Sorry, he did play very, very well. He was. I know there was a point made as well by one of the comments about he wasn't pressed that much by Kilmarnock, and Kilmarnock didn't offer as much. But no, he was very. He dealt with anything that Kilmarnock did manage to throw at him, and his passing out of defence was actually quite good. As I've said before, I think one of his biggest weaknesses, a bit like Starfelt, is he's quite good at just basic defending when he's asked to just react. When you ask him to dwell on the ball and run out of defence and pass it, that's when it's a bit squeaky bum time, William Scales. But I felt like when he was carrying the ball at times at the weekend, he did play very, very well, and he does deserve his credit for that, as do the team in general, because I thought we were fantastic on Sunday. I really did.
No, I mean, you're right. He was excellent. He did a lot. I think he did a lot of things better in one game there. He showed than he did a lot of the end of last season. Like, he was much quicker to move the ball on. He wasn't dilly-dallying on the ball as much. He wasn't getting caught on the ball. He looked solid. I mean, a great header. I mean, if we could a wee bit more of that, please. Like I said, I mean, Scales has deservedly kept his place in the side. This is all down to the fact that his competition isn't there. I mean, he's head and shoulders above the other centre backs, and that's great. But he needs competition. People are saying we don't need competition for Scales, we need a starter. Well, right now Scales is the starter, and until somebody comes in and proves otherwise, then he'll probably continue to play there because the manager obviously trusts him. and likes him a lot. Another player, quickly we'll touch on for the last 5 minutes, that really impressed on Sunday, and that was Rio Hatate. This is what Rogers had to say on Hatate Regan. He said, I never saw the player that I hoped to see at the beginning of last season for whatever reason. I was aware of him and I'd seen him play and liked what I saw, but he'd never really got going through pre-season last year, not to what I was wanting. Then he gets injured, and then it was really broken for him, and he had little spells where he came into the team, but not consistently. He knows I like him as a player, and he knows what I want from him as a player. And what I've seen over the course of pre-season, he's top class. He's been absolutely brilliant since he's come back. I think he now has more clarity of what I want from a Celtic midfield player. I want all the players to do the very best for Celtic, and then that ambition to do well for Celtic will help them in their individual careers. What that tells me, Regan, is Brendan's put an arm around Rio and said, I know you're looking for a move, mate. I know you have ambitions to get to the Premier League or Spain or Italy or Germany, wherever it is you're wanting to play your football, but you've got to do the business on the park for Celtic first. And if you're wanting to do moves like that, like what the links that Matt O'Reilly's had, then this is what you need to do. And you need to follow my instruction to a T. And by the looks of it, so far in pre-season, Regan, Brendan Rodgers is getting exactly what he wants out of Rio Hatate. Goes and scores on the first day of the season. He absolutely dictated the midfield. Wasn't as careless on the ball. Still a couple of risky passes, but we want our midfielder to do that, especially when you're trying to unlock a defence like Kilmarnock's. I'm very pleased to say that I think Rio Hatate won't be going anywhere this window. But if he's wanting that big move, Regan, he'll have to do it this season.
I think Brendan Rodgers showed the example when he was at Leicester City. I think he knows the Celtic board and him. I think he would demand of Peter Lawwell and Nicholson that you are not able to sell two starting midfielders in the same window. That would be football suicide. It would be terrible, because I think at the end of the day, these two, I think Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate will take Celtic to a brand new level in European football. And obviously, I was at the Athletic Madrid game where he got injured, but I feel like if he gets a full campaign of Champions League, I think it'd be great, because I think we've still not properly seen CCV or Rio Hatate properly in Europe yet, Phil. And I feel like I feel like it's something we need to see, because CCV and Rio Hatate always seem to get injured round about the Champions League matches. So I think
Regan, do you remember Ange's second season, the Champions League, we had Leipzig, Shakhtar, and Real Madrid? That one, Carter Vickers was like injured for like 5 out of the 6 games. Jens played in 5 out of 6 of them, wasn't it? And it was.
He played against Real Madrid, because I put Jens on to score the first goal when for Celtic to win 2-1.
Aye, because Jens ended up playing, and you're right, Carter Vickers, he missed out loads of games. In fact, I think Starfelt had a few injuries as well. We were very unlucky with our centre-back pairings in that campaign.
Aye, so David, no, I don't think Brendan will let Rio go. I think he'll say to him, look, Matt's probably going to go this summer, but that could be you next summer. If you continue to play to your capability, that's what I think genuinely will happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Rio's 26? Rio, again, first name basis. Me and Rio were good pals.
And he only began playing professionally just about 5 or 6 years ago as well. He was he only broke into the professional game when he was like in his 20s. So
aye.
Stephen Kennedy's caught me.
Stephen Kennedy's up to all sorts of mischief in the chat tonight.
Aye, Stephen, it's because he keeps sending me DMs of loads of links I need to click on. So
of course.
Aye, that taxi. No. Anyway. Well, we've hit the hour mark, guys. I think there's not much else to talk about. I'm not talking about Adam Ida again. He can fuck off. We can talk about him on next week when he signs.
Well, Bernardo's now signed. We've got a new saga every week, so it's going to be Adam Ida now going forward. Yes.
That's it.
David, are you still thinking 15th of August, or what are you thinking?
Aye, mate. I've got your you're top in my basket with ready to click I when on the 15th of August. You confident, mate?
Aye, I think it's going to happen. Yeah.
Hey,
But
did you not see his Instagram post today? He just put a caption saying "patience" for the wee egg timer. That's what he put. The picture of himself just with patience under it, and it's like, oh, he is at it, man. He is at it. I think he'll be a Celtic player as well. I think it's going to happen. I think it's inevitable.
I had 15/8/24 written on his Instagram.
Yep.
Right, guys. I mean, we'll let you go in whatever it is you're wanting to go down on your Tuesday, like Stephen Kennedy.
Well, they are playing. They are playing right now.
Well, if you want to go and watch them,
if that tickles your fancy.
It's 1-0 to Kiev at the moment.
There you go.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, cool. We'll whatever. If they get in, they get in. If they don't, lol. Right, have a good have a good Tuesday, and we'll see you next week to talk about other signings that I haven't signed.
Yes, indeed. Catch you then, guys.
Catch you then, guys. See you later. Bye.